I think everybody by now agrees that the origin of hip hop started in New York City, the Bronx to be exact. And that's something that nobody really can deny. But the origin of hip hop has now become convoluted because at first it was thought that African Americans or Black Americans started hip hop, with some insertions from Jamaicans. Then I've heard other stories that really it was Jamaicans and Black Americans that started hip hop. And then there is something else. Now Puerto Ricans actually played a role in developing hip hop alongside the blacks, and some of them are saying that the genre was half and half. So yes, blacks contributed to it, but Puerto Ricans were right there in its innovation. And one of the people that started saying this was Fat Joe.
You know, I tell you, I never really with Twitter, but I go on there to see, they always hating on me. And they said, they've been like lately talking about Latinos wasn't in rap and this and this. These guys are delusional. We're from the Bronx, New York, it happens. And so when hip hop started, it's Latino and black, half and half. But they going at me because I'm like the only Spanish dude, like really with a big voice. That and Latinos wasn't there. You was invited. You are a specimen. I don't know what the is up with these people.
On the outside, Fat Joe has been an ally of the black community. He's really been able to come into the culture and benefit. Even was the host of the BET Awards for some time. But then it got so ugly that Fat Joe ended up going back and forth with Black Americans online, and then this particular clip came out.
It's a group of these guys that don't want to hear Jamaican, don't want to hear Guyanese, they don't want to hear a black guy that ain't down with them.
Right.
Right? So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't Black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say a name? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean,
the FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the these broke is.
This kicked off a year war like no other. It got so bad, Fat Joe actually did resign from the BET Awards and gave it to somebody else. Really, he says he wanted to give somebody else a shot, but he already knew it was going to come down. There's no way that hashtag FBA, aka the original African Americans, was going to allow a guy like Fat Joe to be the host of BET Awards after he disrespected the culture. So he gave it up, all right? And he still has been saying that Puerto Ricans created hip hop. Now, I found this person by the name of DJ Charlie Chase. His real name is Carlos Mendez. He's a Puerto Rican DJ, and he was a part of the Latino community in the early form of hip hop, right? And we're not saying that they were not there, or at least some of them, but this is what he's saying.
Every time we'd go somewhere and me and Tony would go together, they would say, hey, they will make announcements, DJ Charlie Chase and Tony Tone's in the house. So people would come over to say what's up to us, but they'd walk over to me and say, yo, Tony, what's up? Because they knew Charlie Chase was bad on the 1 and 2s, but they figured the black guy was Charlie Chase because they couldn't picture a Puerto Rican rocking the 1 and 2s the way they heard it on the cassettes. And Tony would say, no, I'm Tony. That's Charlie. And they'd have this stunned look on their eyes like, really?
But wait, there's more.
They wouldn't believe it until they actually saw me play, and then they accepted it then. But the problem that I was having with that was that I was getting a lot of pushback. There was a lot of prejudice in the sense that the blacks were telling me, you know what, man, go back to your cowbells and your music. You know, you don't belong here. And then the Hispanics were telling me, what the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing playing that Jungle Bunny music? You know, and I was getting criticized by both sides. What are you doing? And
so this is interesting to me because if Puerto Ricans and blacks created the genre half and half, then my question is, why was it shocking for a black person to believe that he was a DJ? That's what's killing me. Like, they had the mixtapes going on the early times, but when they found out that this guy was Puerto Rican, they were shocked, and he had to fight to get into the community. Imagine Bill Gates co-founding a company with somebody, and that person has to fight to get into his own building every day, even though he's a contributor to the company. He's like a founder, right? Could you ever consider a founder that has a hard time getting into the company? No. And then you just don't. Also, he was getting criticized from the Latino community and also the black community because they considered him an outsider. Like, this is not your culture. So if somebody is telling him this is not your culture, then what does that mean? It means that he was an anomaly. Sure, he was there as a beginning force, as a DJ, but it wasn't normal at that time. So even DJ Charlie Chase is saying, hey, I was one of those outside guys that happened to come into the community, just like one of these white guys that grew up in the black community and can rap or can sing gospel music or play the Hammond organ or something like that in the black church. But that's different from saying that you actually created a genre, because if that was the case, we would see a lot more Puerto Ricans in hip hop at that time and even till now. And the reason why is because of the proximity. Now, if you guys know about the East Coast corridor, it's very much different than what's on the West Coast. I lived in Los Angeles and in Sacramento, and to be honest, we don't live amongst a whole bunch of Hispanics. Maybe you may do so in Compton, but when I say live, I'm talking about like your friends, you hang out with them, like you go to parties together. That's not really the culture with California Hispanics like it is with some of the brothers in Philadelphia, with the Puerto Rican community, the Dominican community. You know, you have a different bond, at least at that time, between these communities. Puerto Ricans and blacks dating and intermarrying, and also the Jamaican community intermarrying. That's a lot different. That's different from where I'm from in California, where we don't live next to Jamaicans. When you live in the black community, at least in my time, you live amongst all blacks. We didn't have no Africans in our community. We didn't have no Liberians in our community. We didn't have none of that. We didn't have a diverse black community like you see in New York City, Philadelphia, DC. That's out, all right? So if you live in proximity close to these people, they should also be there because they live by you. You go into the same high schools. You playing basketball together. You're playing, football together. Why they not in hip hop together, right? And then here's another part. Fat Joe is not, in my honest opinion, the most honest person in the world. A lot of people consider Fat Joe to be a habitual liar.
And so he's like, oh, they let you in here? I said, what you mean? And he said, nah, you could still be in the hood. Like, you ain't supposed to be out there. So I smack his cheek off in the bathroom.
Yo,
1 second.
I smacked his cheeks off.
No, I'm telling you, I gave him that fire.
Shout out to Jadakiss, man. I feel bad, man. Jada got to sit there and listen to all that crap. Jada know he lying. Jadakiss for sure knows that his ass is lying, right? I mean, it's just crazy because we all know that that's all cap. And it's so bad that even people are imitating him as a form of content, lying about everything he says.
Yo, did I ever tell you the story about the 9 guys that broke in my house to rob me and I end up robbing them? So there's 12 guys. It's 12 guys trying to rob me. I come down the stairs like, yo, what's up? I end up robbing them. I took everything. I didn't have a gun. I just took their guns. The guys had me so upset, I made them go outside and cut the grass. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I had them cutting grass at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Stop the cap.
So because Fat Joe is a liar, it's hard for him to go ahead and be trusted as a source to say, well, the early versions of hip hop were Puerto Rican and black, and there was a lot of parity in that, or equality in that. Now, again, we're not here to say that the Latino community wasn't active in hip hop in the early stages. But when you talk about who created the culture, then why don't we see any elements of that in Puerto Rican music at the time or whatever? We don't see it transferring like we did with, like, let's say James Brown to hip hop. We can see a particular transfer of music and how it evolved, just like if you watch basketball, we can look at the Tim Hardaway crossover. Then we can look at Allen Iverson's crossover. Like, we can see the evolution of basketball coming from the 90s to where it is now, and you can track it. Same thing in football. But Puerto Rican music into hip hop is a little bit different. Maybe reggaeton, but different. But look at what Fat Joe recently just said on a podcast.
Now, he was telling me the plain truth. He was like, you're not going to make it. Have you seen any Spanish guys make it in this? You're done. And I'm from the soil, the Bronx. And my father actually saw hip hop born. He was like, there's no other Spanish people doing this, Papi. Like, you have no chance. And I'm in the kitchen writing on the table. But then they become my biggest fans. Damn.
Now, I believe this is Fat Joe with Jadakiss in clips, and he's saying the unthinkable. His own dad says, listen, nobody in hip hop that's Latino is making it. You don't see no guys there that are Hispanic, all right? So you don't have a chance. You don't have no chance. That's exactly what he said. I don't know if it's verbatim, but he said no chance. So my question is this: what group, what community in America that creates something? And we got to look at foreigners and people who come to the United States. Now, Puerto Ricans are not foreigners because technically they're United States citizens. But if you look at Latinos, nothing that they create in America will they give up, especially something profitable like hip hop. If they owned hip hop or created it, number one, they would have been tried to take it over. And that's why they made reggaeton, okay? And like I said, if it was a person that was there and your dad saw the whole thing, then where are the other people? Like, why did they just leave the genre? They created it, it was popping, it's a worldwide phenomenon, it's now money involved in it. Then why don't we see the Puerto Rican version of Diddy or the Puerto Rican version of Suge Knight or the Puerto Rican, like, we don't see any of those people, and we will, because we know that Hispanics and Latinos are very enterprising. They don't just, like I said, look at Dominicans in the black community, especially the ones on the East Coast. They in barbershops. I mean, Puerto Ricans are, very similar. They got their stuff. Mexicans, once they own something, they're not trying to give it up. And then also, they ain't gonna let your ass in there either, right? And Puerto Ricans as Latinos, they're a very tight-knit community, and they kind of operate around similar rules. So when it was like for the hip hop stuff, it was kind of like for the blacks, but now Fat Joe is saying something different. Well, why do y'all just say we don't want this $1 billion genre? You blacks can keep it. Should we believe that? Hell no, we shouldn't believe it. And whoever caught that clip and brought it out, I believe it ended up on Tariq Nasheed's page. What did he say? Well, right? And I don't even want to get into the comment section on that because it was down bad. But I see so many black Americans are fighting so hard for what we create because it seems like there's like an active plot to take away or rewrite history for anything that black Americans have done so that other groups can be more successful. But when it's the other way around, it's not like that. Like, blacks have created so many things in America that they don't get credit for. The things that we have done, you want to take that too? Huh? So guys, what do you think? It's your boy Yoshi Duke Jackson back at it again with an episode of The Celebrity Drunk. Be sure to follow you, be scared of the bell. We're out.